Hello, this is the little Blender tutorial that I put together. I use this Blender non-native script for capturing terrain height map data. The script is my own. You can download it at this link shown on screen. The script extracts Blender height map data as well as using Python calls to fractal noising procedures in Blender for producing terrain height map colorization that could be used in texturing a given landscape. So we'll go ahead and start up a new file here and delete the existing cube object there. We'll need to go ahead and load up the Ant landscape add-on. So I'm going to that particular add-on as shown. And we'll go ahead and add under 3D view the landscape. Again, that's add is the path, mesh, and then landscape. And I'm using my middle mouse, holding that down to scroll and change the view, and then changing the subdivisions, which is changes the resolution on the mesh. So the higher the subdivisions means that you get finer gradation of detail, mesh detail, but it does come at greater computational expense if you're doing any sort of procedural work on the mesh itself in terms of analysis, like height map analysis. So the changing the dimension of the mesh actually smooths it out a bit alongside adding some depth. And then I've changed the seating, of course. So I'm going to go ahead and expand this view off to the side. That's just clicking on the handle with the left mouse button and dragging it and releasing the left mouse button. Let's go into edit mode on the mesh. We're going to UV unwrap this. So I press number 7 and then the period to change the view so that it's a top-down view. And then I went under mesh and UV unwrap. And let's go ahead and select follow active quads. So again, that's mesh, UV unwrap, follow active quads. We'll change the length to even and push OK on that. So now we'll go ahead and add a second view. Notice where my mouse cursor is, I press the left mouse button while holding the mouse button down, dragging the mouse to the left to increase that view. And then I went down and changed to the Python console. So let's go ahead and we'll need to add the file name for the script itself. And then we'll want to execute the script. So it's kind of a two-part procedure in executing a script in Blender. This will take a little bit of time to process. Depends on the resolution that you have for the bitmap itself, or the sizing of the bitmap. So anything that's like, greater than 1024, you may have, depending on their processor speed, lengthened computation time. So it can take quite some time depending on how fast your system is. And we'll go ahead and wait for that to finish. And one thing to keep in mind is that script you will also need. That's a bitmap, and I'll be showing that in a little bit here. It's a bitmap script that will actually run outside of Blender. Unfortunately, Blender's interactive Python console doesn't seem to work well with some file in-out options. So for that, we will, and I'll show this link to my script here in just a second, this bitmap script. So the bitmap itself, the path for the bitmap creation, and what that other script, by the way, just did was it read the Heightmap data, colorized the terrain, but it didn't actually write it to a bitmap file. It just wrote the data down so that my bitmap interpreter or script can go ahead and interpret the that particular data set. So we just load the bitmap script, run it. That's again done. Just you can load up your Python 2.7 idle shell. In fact, it only runs with the Python 2.7. The script is designed around that. So, and again, it's called bitmap2.py. You'll just run that. It'll take a little bit of time. It's actually pretty fast at 1024 resolution. Now we'll go ahead and load the texture. We'll first need to load a material. So I've gone ahead and done that. Turn the intensity up and turn down the specularity. And the texture, we'll go ahead and get that added. Click open. Go to the path. And it's testfile.bmp. We'll notice that from the top-down view, it looks like the texture is already almost aligned with the given perspective view, but we may still need to rotate the texture in terms of its UV coordinate values. But first we do need to get the UV coordinates aligned with the actual bitmap file. So we'll go ahead and get that texture bitmap file loaded in the UV editor, image editor. Now, to do this procedurally, I hit the A button to select all the vertices in the UV Met editor. Then I press S to scale, then G to drag the object, S to scale it again, G again to drop or drag, and S to rescale. I just kind of repeat the procedure until I get the UV map itself right down to about the size of the image itself. We want to get it overlaid generally pretty precisely over the image. And again, G to drag, and I just more finely scaling this until it looks like we're right literally on top of at least one of the dimensions, because we've got the UVs unwrapped at exactly, scale for scale. It's the same as the image in terms of dimensionality, or the width, the ratio of the width to the length. Now you can use the G and then Y, or G and then X to drag the image. Now you'll notice that that the image is not aligned with the UV map. So what we'll need to do is rotate this. So I hit the R button, and then I typed in -90, which is just a 90-degree rotation. And we'll notice that the image is now, the texture is now overlaid, aligned with the terrain itself, the terrain mesh. So that's kind of important to pay attention to that. And I went ahead and turned on the ambient occlusion, added a sun lamp, and then added an atmosphere. You can add normalize the texture just to kind of give it texture value or terrain texturing. And then for kind of added surface detail, for added kind of realism, you can add also like a cloud normal filter to kind of give it a little bit more kind of realistic terrain deformed like weathering. So we'll go ahead and turn off the diffuse and add the normal. Now to create kind of that more fine gradation of weathering effect, you can add depth, and you'll notice that it becomes a lot more apparent in terms of kind of that almost like weathering effect. So that's basically it for this particular tutorial and setting up the terrain texturing, height texturing map. Thank you again for watching.